Everyone, and thank you for joining us, and welcome to this little webinar we're doing this morning on personalised health and medicine. And we're really doing this really different focus on how we're doing our medicine now. So we've been talking for quite a long time in medicine, or maybe let's say the last 5 or 6 years, about how we personalise what we do. But we're really now discovering that we can have so much more information about the individual that's going to help us to personalise our approach to them and change their outcomes and our potential kind of interventions with them to help people to get back to a state of health and well-being. And the more information we get, the more we can tailor our lifestyle interventions, but also our medical interventions as well. So we're having a focus today on what is this personalised health and personalised medicine look like. And we've got a fantastic panel today. So we've got Matt Ryman, who's the scientist and founder of an organisation called PH360, which you're going to hear about today. And we've got Dr. Cam McDonald, who's a dietitian and an exercise physiologist and is a real expert and pioneer also in this area. And we've got Nicole Bilgemer, who is a building biologist. So what does that mean? Well, she's a naturopath to begin with, but now she's done a lot of research and she's a teacher for building biologists to help people to understand how their living environment can have a profound impact on their health. And why that is. And so the 4 of us today are going to have a discussion about all the aspects of personalised medicine that we understand at the moment. So we're going to hand over right now just to Matt, and Matt's going to give us a little introduction on the personalised medicine. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Penny. It's a pleasure to be here today with everybody, and I'm really excited about this conversation. I think today what we're looking for is just a brief introduction to personalised medicine and to personalised health for those that aren't aware of it. And I guess the best place to start here is the principles and philosophies, and how is that different to current medicine practices or current health practices. And really we look at the way that the generic conversation is approached versus the personalised. It really comes down to we look at each individual as a unique person, and then we understand the differences that each unique individual has. There's over 7.5 billion people on the planet today. There's not one single person that's the same, not even identical twins. And we understand that from the fields of genetics and the fields of epigenetics that help us understand how we actually dictate and how we actually approach each individual as a unique person. And this is in the fields of the way that we understand their foods, their exercise, their social interactions, their stress, their sleep, many different factors here that influence the way that actually one's genes are expressed at any moment in time. And this is what we refer to as personalised health and personalised medicine, understanding exactly what it is for the person in front of you and how that is different for anyone else that you're seeing in the clinic from there on in. So this is just the difference in approach that exists today and the way that we like to look at things in the clinics from here on in. And the basics of the sciences that are involved in personalised health and personalised medicine are very, very vast and quite extensive, that we usually cover in a 3-day course. And we have obviously done that quite a lot around the world now. But we look at the sciences of first and foremost understanding who's in front of you. So anthropometry, which is a science that looks at quantifying the person's shape and size, that can tell us a lot of predisposition factors towards diseases and states of health. This is now a very well studied science that's in over many, many thousands of peer-reviewed journal articles that can literally link the risks of diseases with different shapes and sizes of the body, and also can tell us about behaviours and functional characteristics of people as well. We have a lot of different sciences around endocrinology, which looks at development from what we refer to as pre-womb to tomb, and how different organs and different states of cells function at different rates and actually form differently for each different individuals. And that, again, predisposes us to different states of disease or different functions in our bodies, even different sizes and lengths of our digestive tracts or the size of our heart or the function of our liver and kidneys. And we have many different sciences. We talk about phenotypology, which is looking at the expression of our genes, and looking at the function of you. And phenotypology is literally how you look and how you think in the mirror. And this is a very broad understanding now about how our genes are very important, but also the things around our genes, our epigenetics, actually determine our phenotype. So genes plus our epigenetics determine our phenotype. And this is a very strong understanding now about our daily functions and about how the foods we eat, the exercise we do, the sleep we get, the amount we move our body or don't move our body really influences our gene expression and influences the way that we actually stay in our state of health or disease. And so there's many other sciences involved in this. So I won't go through all of them today, but I really encourage you guys to learn more. And we've got a really great personalised medicine video series that's coming up. If you haven't yet been informed of that, I'd love for you guys to enjoy that and learn a lot more about what that is here for today. So that's about it from me right now. And I'm just going to hand over to Cam actually to share a little bit more about the adaptation of that principle in terms of the food area. So an area we refer to as nutriphenomics. So nutrigenomics, looking at foods and gene expression, and nutriphenomics, looking at how our foods actually influence our phenotype and the things that are unraveling in that area, which is obviously expanding and pioneering a lot of the areas in the nutrition department. So Cam, I'll hand over to you. Thank you so much.
It's great to be here this morning. I just unmuted myself. I was talking to myself for a few seconds. So it's wonderful to be on the panel with you guys. And as far as nutriphenomics is concerned, it's a must for health professionals to really understand how it interacts. Well, obviously, there's been a huge movement in nutrigenomics and understanding what foods are required or what nutrients are required for particular genes. But what we do understand is that bodies can vary greatly even with the same DNA. So identical twins, one can have type 2 diabetes and be heavily overweight, and another twin can be very lean and very fit. They share exactly the same DNA, but their phenotype is very, very different. And so the treatment becomes very, very different for those two people. Even the same individual, as they progress or regress a disease, their requirements are going to change as well. And so this is something that we're always interacting with, is we are constantly changing phenotype with nutrients. But the really, really important part of this is that we are, if you are changing your intervention based on someone's genetics and taking into consideration their phenotype as well, then we're going to get a result much faster, and we're going to get a result that's much more specific for the individual. So just a couple of examples, a couple of cases today. There was an individual I've been working with for the last 6 months or so, and she started out with 3 or 4 autoimmune conditions, and after quite a bit of collaboration with the top scientific team that we have with PH360, which is the platform we use to quantify phenotype and personalized treatments. It was discovered that particularly for her phenotype and also her genotype, the way that she inflames is actually quite different to normal. And the inflammation that was actually occurring inside her arteries was creating a number of autoimmune conditions elsewhere. And so the treatment became very much about treating, decreasing the inflammation within the arteries, and doing this through very specific ways. We modified the amount of protein that we were consuming, the types of vegetables, really based on the PH360 outputs, which sort of takes a lot of the thinking out of it, which is very handy. And after 3 to 4 weeks, while she hasn't been able to do anything but gain weight for the last couple of years, she lost 3 to 4 kilos in the first couple of weeks just through fluid retention and decreasing stress, and then has continued to consistently decrease weight, decrease inflammation, and symptomatically has improved. And there was a couple of things that really stood out as to what made this successful. And one was firstly matching the nutrient profile to her current phenotype, which her disease state, but also her body shape and the hormonal dominance that was occurring, which creates her body shape. And the second is making sure that she can then achieve it, sort of understanding her neurotype, understanding how she is going to be motivated, so that part of her mind can be engaged, and the mental side of the change isn't stressful as well. That, in conjunction with some very specific personalized medicine, which was intervened by my colleagues, the medical officers, and we've seen really phenomenal results. The third part, which was very, very fascinating as well, was simply changing the timing of her food. And chronobiology wasn't mentioned by Matt before, but this is a very important science when it comes to personalizing health, and just shifting her exercise timing from morning to late morning, from very early morning to late morning, had a profound effect on daily headaches that have evaporated to 1 headache in the last 6 months, and bowel habits have restored themselves to normal. So from just changing the timing of her exercise, but also very specific changes to her food based on her phenotype, we were able to really see a dramatic change. And this is all happening with the platform, where the focus for the health professional is very much applying clinical experience and the right type of motivation for the client. What we see for other clients as well, we had a gentleman who had ulcerative colitis, and this is typically a condition that is managed, and the symptoms are just effectively, the symptoms are managed. There's not a whole lot of improvement of symptoms often. And what's very important for this young bloke was that he needed to be doing quite different things at different times of day as far as relaxing his mind. He also needed to be very, very specific about the foods that he was putting into his body. But these foods for this particular case of ulcerative colitis are different for another person's ulcerative colitis with different genes, different phenotypes. It's important that we make sure that we're still bringing in the right nutrients for the rest of the body so that it can heal the diseased organ. And so after 4 weeks, this young bloke was able to come off his medications completely. He was able to maintain or to effectively stop his symptoms just through whole foods and using particular breathing exercises at a particular time of day that was very, very important for his methylation pathways, which were particularly sensitive in his phenotype. So just a couple of cases, and what I really wanted to describe were that firstly, different diseases will need different treatments, obviously, but the same disease within two different people are also going to need something different. And this is determined based on the phenotype of a body, also their genetic underpinnings. And this isn't just a nutrition game, it's a motivational game. It's also a comprehensive health game as well, where we're looking at integrating treatments such as psychological treatments, also nutritional treatments, and the elements of exercise with timing and many other features, as I'm sure Nicole will speak to today as well. And what we see when we use this model are just profound results, zero guesswork on behalf of the health professional. You know exactly what's right for the person at a particular time. And over the last 4 years that I've been using this platform now, it's really made a difference. It's really chalk and cheese between the first part of my career and the last 4 years. So it's been a wonderful experience, and this understanding of nutriphenomics is something that really everyone should engage with.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yep.
I've had problems with Zoom in the past. Well, my work, I started out as a naturopath, an acupuncturist for 15 years, and started noticing strong connections with many of my patients' illnesses in their homes. And of course, moved into my first home, had 10 miscarriages. No one could figure it out, and realised we're sleeping right next to a very high electromagnetic field from the meter panel and high levels of traffic-related air pollutants coming in through our master bedroom from the nearby intersection. So it completely changed the way I looked at clinical practice, and in particular, the causes of illness. So I think it's great to see this conversation, because the phenotype, as we know, is a combination of genetics and expression of those genes as a result of environmental factors like nutrition. Nutrition critical because it gives the resilience to deal with environmental factors. But for me, looking at the data, and especially chronic illnesses, what we've seen is an incredible explosion of chronic illnesses in Western countries, allergies, ADHD, learning behavioural disorders, neurodegenerative disorders, etc. And this is correlated with an increase in the amount of toxicants or man-made chemicals that have exploded in our air, our food, our water. And also things like electromagnetic fields, now 1,000 billion-fold higher than when our grandparents were raised. And of course, this is the start of generations that have been exposed to these fields. The combination of these factors appears to be playing a huge role in instigating many of the illnesses that we're seeing. For example, recently doing an audit of a house where the woman had developed tinnitus, Meniere syndrome, and within 6 months of moving into the home, 12 months later, her husband develops the same condition, and they call us in because they find that when they're away from the home at their seaside a holiday property, the symptoms dissipate significantly or disappear. And when we do the audit of the home, we can see from their master bedroom 5 mobile phone towers within 400 metres emitting high levels of radio frequencies, which we know can contribute to things like tinnitus and other related problems. So, other audits we're going in, we're finding recently, a woman with MS, diagnosed with MS, her daughter has chronic fatigue syndrome, her second daughter has chronic asthma, allergies, and has experienced pneumonia on several occasions. They have a significant biotoxin or water damage building as a result of drainage issues around the house. All of their symptoms began within 6 to 12 months of moving into the home. So I'm starting to think that the diagnostic boxes we give as clinicians is really, it enables us to determine what shopping bag of stuff to give patients or pharmaceutical drugs. But really what we're talking about is inflammation triggered by environmental factors. And of course, because nutrition and food has become, processed food has become such a norm for Western society, our resilience has significantly declined, where now our gene variants or SNPs are really becoming obvious, because many of these SNPs would have been present in our family line over generations, but because of the onslaught of these environmental chemicals, every 60 seconds another 20 chemicals are registered for use on the world's largest database, the Chemical Abstract Service. There's over 140 million chemicals on that database to date. You cannot expect the human body to deal with those toxicants in such a short period of time within 3 generations and not have significant adverse health effects. And what we know is chronic illness is complicated because it involves that interaction between our genes, the environment, our nutritional state, our lifestyle, all of these things. So we need big data sets in order to be able to understand how these genes and environment interact in our nutrition to create these phenotypes. So, the phenotype is the ultimate expression of this combination. And that's why I'm really excited with the research that I'm doing, is developing surveys and tools to start correlating exposures to electromagnetic fields, to environmental chemicals, to lifestyle practices, and the way in which it can affect certain illnesses. And maybe many of the illnesses we put our boxes around, like autoimmune disorders, could be triggered by water damage buildings and electromagnetic fields and high levels of stress, etc. So it'll be wonderful to see this unravel in the next 10 years or so, with the development of Watson and big data groups, to be able to start finally see correlations and finally get to the cause of the patient's condition, instead of focusing on how we treat symptoms, looking at each individual in such a way that it's so unique because it's personalised, and the environment they're living in and their proximity to traffic-related air pollutants and, chemicals in their food and their air and their water, and water damage in their building, etc. So it's exciting times.
Thank you, Nicole. Always really inspiring to hear you speak, and to the clarity in which you describe how us as human beings are responding to an environment. I guess I'm always a bit surprised that we're doing so kind of relatively well, considering the kind of exposure that we have to things that we've never ever been exposed to in the past. So Nicole's going to be with us on the retreat in Auckland in April, and also at the conference. So come and hear more of Nicole. And thank you also, Cam. Great examples of how changing our lifestyle, very specifically and very personally, can make a huge difference to these things that we call diseases, but really are just outcomes of a whole lot of factors that are alterable. So from here, I'm just going to have a talk to Matt. And Matt and the PH360 team who will be sponsoring the retreat in New Zealand. I'd like to talk a little bit about this retreat and what it brings and why we would be doing this. The team, Matt and his team, will be facilitating a full immersion, personalised medicine experiential retreat. And let's just start with a few questions about this. So, Matt, why are you facilitating this retreat for AIMA?
Well, Penny, it's a good question. The reason we do what we do is because of the bigger conversation that all of us have had today, and that is that we can all make a big difference in people's lives. There's so many factors now that unfortunately cause over 4 billion people out of our 7.5 to be suffering from chronic pain disease at this very point in time. And as you're aware, and maybe many people aren't aware on this call, that we work with the Ultimate Human Foundation, whose mission is to eliminate all chronic pain and disease from the planet. So we're very passionate to work with organisations like AIMA and the likes to really help bring awareness about each person being unique, to bring awareness to the fact that each person has information about themselves that they may or may not know already. And this information can help them understand what's right for them to be healthy and happy, and understand more about their body and how that is influenced by many of these epigenetic factors that are out there that we've spoken about so far. So we're really passionate about it and really excited to be here with this retreat and to help people have an experience to immerse themselves in that phenotype conversation and to understand firsthand their epigenetics and how they can be in control of many of those things, because ultimately we get to choose the foods that we put in our mouth, the way we move our body, the people we hang out with, the amount of stress we perceive, the amount of sleep we get, the way we think. We get to choose all these things. And so we are in far more control than what we think. And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so that's great. And I guess there are obvious benefits to coming to this retreat, and I guess it would be great for you now just to kind of say what you think the benefits are for the individuals, and also what the benefits are of a group of people meeting together and having these important discussions.
Yeah, well, I think you kind of nailed that there, Penny. The benefits are huge, and I think to rub shoulders with the likes of Penny and Nicole and Cam and many people of this caliber who are really trying to push the envelope in the conversation to say, we don't just come out of university and just do our job. We actually are really interested to make a difference and really interested to explore a lot of the things that we know and a lot of things we don't know. And I, for one, can't think of any better place to be than around like-minded people like that who really want to understand what's out there, who really want to have discussions with those bigger concepts and philosophies, and all come together to really make a difference in this world. So for one, come along if you want to rub shoulders with these sorts of people. Number two, I don't know if many people have actually had the opportunity to be fully immersed in their ideal environment and lifestyle before, and this is something that we work really hard to make sure we can do. And this is coming from, we measure you up and we quantify your phenotype when you arrive at the retreat. We then go ahead and personalise all your meals specifically for you, based on the nutrients and the vitamins and mineral levels that you need. We actually have chefs that cook this food for you for breakfast, lunches and dinners, which is an incredible experience to actually taste the food that's what your body is asking for. We have exercise sessions or movement sessions, depending on who you are and what sort of level of exercise you're at, again, based on gene expression. This may be, some people might do some breathing exercise in the morning. Other people might do a high intensity training regime. It depends on who you are and, again, where you're at in terms of your gene expression. And we facilitate many other great experiences throughout the weekend that are based on your personalisation. We also have some really great workshops with many key people that look at pushing the envelope about why we're here and about the bigger conversations with humanity, but really how this integrates with us as unique human beings, and how we can understand about ourselves and understand about why we're here. We can then go and help others in our community around us and then have a bigger impact in the world. So I think there's a lot of benefits for coming along. And I really hope that I can see most of you guys there, or lots of you guys there, because it really is something that I don't think anyone wants to miss. So thanks, Penny.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And I think Matt's really explained it well. And the two components are, of course, the personalised experience, which is going to be great for us, because I guess as health professionals and others involved in the kind of integrative functional medicine sphere who may not be health professionals, because there are people like that also coming on this retreat. We rarely take that time out to have a focus on ourselves and what our needs are. And you'll be hearing, if you come on this retreat, you'll be hearing a lot about the flow state. So all the guys in PH360 talk about the flow state, and that's the state where you're doing all the things in the way that really suits the best expression of your genes, so the best phenotype, and allows us to be even more than what we're able to capably be right now. But the other part of this retreat is this big picture discussion about what would the world look like, and what would it look like if we were doing medicine very differently, and if we were if many people were functioning within this flow state, that we'd really live in a very different kind of world. And I suspect many of us wouldn't need to be as disconnected as we are now to get through our days, which has to be a good thing. So I guess in quick summary of today, I'm aware that there are some people online today who are not medical and don't have necessarily a science background, but are really keen on facilitating integrative medicine being available to people within their communities. And so I think that you'll probably have understood very well what's been said here today, but the whole epigenetics thing is just huge. So genes are just like these architectural plans. They don't really do anything, but they're constantly being formed by our environment. And what I'm explaining to my patients now is that everything in our environment is just information for gene expression. And so we have some influence over our environment, and we need to be personally understanding for ourselves and also for our patients and clients what environmental things are going to be beneficial or deleterious to their health. There is this huge revolution at the moment that's already here and also coming, and I think I would divide that up into two parts. One is this this kind of wave of people who are unwell and are not necessarily getting help because they're unwell with new kinds of things like Nicole's been speaking about and Cam's been speaking about, and they're really looking for and driving a new way forward, which many people like us are responding to. And one of the kind of areas I think that we need to have a big focus on as doctors and as health professionals is children. Children are much more sensitive to a lot of environmental factors even than adults are. These children have been exposed since they've been in utero, and we're now seeing children with chronic illnesses that didn't exist until people were kind of in their 50s and 60s. And also a lot of kind of things that are called, you know, that are within the realms of mental health, and what people call behavioural disorders, which I think is probably a misnomer. I think it's a lot to do with biochemistry and inflammation and stuff. So there is an urgency really to sort some of this stuff out. The other revolution is coming probably from the tech industry. So the guys who did the genome project are now going, okay, so we kind of we can map the genome and stuff, but what does it really mean and what are the influences on the genome, which is what we're talking about here today. But then in the States, they're gathering this kind of mass data that's going to make connections that we can't even make now. And within the next 5 to 10 years, those connections are going to start to inform us, as well as platforms like PH360 on how we can really individualise an approach. And P4 medicine is what they're calling it, which is predictive, preventative, participatory, and personalised. They're all really good P words that we probably haven't used enough of in medicine. And so I think that we really have to open our eyes to this future that's going to come, no matter paying attention or not, but the more we pay attention, the more that we can utilise this for the benefit of our patients and maybe even primarily for ourselves, because the better we are in terms of our health and our well-being, the more we can offer those people around us, and the more we're willing to make the experience happen for us, the more convincing we are so Cam tells me, the more convincing we are in terms of helping people on their journey as well. And so it's really important that we take the journey, which is why this retreat is really amazing and really well-timed and really important. So this retreat is starting on the 11th of April, arriving at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Waiheke Island, which is just 30 minutes off the coast of Auckland by ferry, and we'll be there for 2 days, leaving on Friday afternoon. So it's a really 2 days immersive experience. I think conferences are wonderful. That's why we're still running them. But I think this interactive experience offers all kinds of things that, you know, listening to someone give a lecture and asking a few questions doesn't address. So it's going to be a very interactive thing for all of us. And I'm sure that everyone is bringing some wisdom and knowledge and experience that will add to this as well. Like Matt said, there's lots of amazing people coming on the retreat that you'll be able to, rub shoulders with, sure, but really interact with and learn from. And I think that everyone who's coming that I know so far are very open to this kind of ongoing learning, apart from the fact that they've got real areas of expertise. And I think that's what it's really about. So the other thing is that we've got just a extended early bird price on the retreat, and that's only for the next couple of days. So if you're interested in this, please go online and and book, or, you know, you can ask us questions. There's an email address on the registration page if you've got some more questions for us. And if you are interested in coming, that would be wonderful. And here's the retreat screen for you. And if you want to bring someone along, that would also be great. And if you know people who may be interested in this retreat, even if you are unable to come, please let them know about it and spread this widely. We probably have really about 13 places left in the retreat. We may be able to create some more if there's enough interest for that. But if you are interested, get online soon. And this website in front of you really explains a lot about the first and second day of the retreat, and also at the top some information about the conference, which is another further exploration into personalised medicine. And we'll also be joined at the conference by Bruce Lipton, who's just an incredibly inspiring, enthusiastic, wonderful speaker who was one of the first people to start talking about epigenetics. And he's always a great experience to be around Bruce when he's speaking. So I'm just going to stop there because I just want to ask Matt if he's got anything else to say in any closing remarks.
Thanks, Penny. Well, I think it's really exciting to have this conversation today. I'm super excited to be able to meet a lot of you guys there live in person in New Zealand for an immersion experience before we go to the conference. And I think you've covered most of the things today, Penny, and it was great to hear from Cam and Nicole. For everybody's experience, I think what you shared there, Penny, with all of us are going to contribute so much towards this experience as we go. For those who haven't been there, it's AIMA, AIMA.ph360.me. There's a link in this chat, and you can go and check that out and register now for that early bird price, which I think the early bird's only available for another 3 days. So please get in there and do that if you are interested in coming. If you want to find out more information, there is an email address. Penny will share that with you with your AIMA email address, Penny. Or Penny will do that sometime soon. There is an email address for AIMA to, if you have any further questions, and someone can reach out to you. But otherwise, I'm really excited to see everybody there. And one last thing that I mentioned at the start of this call, we have a personalised medicine video series that's coming out, which goes through a lot about what is personalised medicine, how do we actually go about understanding personalised medicine, what are some of the sciences and medicines involved in it, what is the phenotype, what is the genotype, what is epigenetics, how do we actually understand quantifying the phenotype. A lot of interesting conversations that are delivered in a very basic level to start with, and then going a lot more in depth across the conversation. So if you haven't yet found out much about personalised medicine, or if you're interested to delve a lot deeper, then at the bottom of the registration, aima.ph360.me, at the bottom of that, you'll find a link that just says for you to register for interest in the upcoming video series for that. And we'd love to talk to you further there and help educate you. It's going to be free. And I believe there's RACG points involved in that video series as well. So thank you all so much for being here. And Penny, thanks for this conversation today. We're really excited about personalised medicine. That's what we do all over the world. The technology that we've talked about today is in over 100 countries, and we're really excited to be able to have that conversation around the world. So I can't wait for the AIMA retreat, and we're really excited to meet all of you guys. So from me, thank you so much for being here. And Penny, back to you. Yeah,
thank you. So I'm not the best at all the details, but here we go. It's inquiries@aima.net.au. Otherwise, you can go at info@aima.net.au, and Cressida can answer any of your inquiries, or any of us are available for extra questions if need be. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you, guys. It's been a great discussion, and look forward to the further, more in-depth discussions together and the shared experience. Thank you.